Hey everybody, it's Ricardo Gorski, the founder of Tax One, where we help individuals and businesses pay as little tax as legally possible. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the Cyprus real estate market because most of our clients are actually interested in relocating to Cyprus. And I see it over and over again that after some time, they are also interested in purchasing a property here, either for their main residency or just for investment purpose. So I thought it's perfect to make a video about the Cyprus real estate market, and I wanted to start this video with a little meme that I've seen on social media where a group of guys is basically looking into the camera and acting like paparazzis with the text POV, you in year 2025 still waiting for the real estate market to crash. So basically every investor knows it by himself that you just wait for the real estate market to crash until you then finally buy in. But what's happening there is that you just wait year over year over year and you just realize that the market is not crashing. Instead, the opposite is happening. The real estate market prices are increasing and you just miss the opportunity, so to say. And this actually leads to the topic of this video, which is now the right time to buy properties here in Cyprus, or is it too late? And for that, I wanted to transfer from this meme to the actual reality here in Cyprus. And that is this video right here that I recorded myself at the Paphos Harbor just 3 days ago when I was doing a little evening walk. And I want to show you this video right now so you just see with your own eyes what is actually happening here in Cyprus. Let's watch this video. So you see, the Paphos Harbor is packed with people. I've been living in Paphos for 4 years now, and I've never seen so many people at the Paphos Harbor. And not only that, every restaurant, every cafe is just fully booked out. All the tables are reserved, and even Pizza Hut, which never has clients here in Paphos, was full. It's the first place you see right here. So this just shows me, okay, something is happening here on this island. And even if I compare Paphos, the city is not the same as 3 years ago. What do I mean by that? 3 years ago, when I came to Paphos, I was still able to drive through the street at the harbor. They now closed this area because there are so many tourists. You can't drive through the harbor anymore. Not only that, they even extended this street now for buses. So I was just walking on that walk at the Paphos Harbor and I looked to the left and right and I've seen this amazing infrastructure for buses driving through Paphos, picking up tourists, picking up people. And then also I've seen that there are cleaners around every corner cleaning the city, which I've never seen before. Then just bridges being built, museums. This is just a Paphos Harbor. The old town is just as busy as that. Just amazing light setups, buildings looking good. And I'm like, wow, what is happening here? 3 years ago, Paphos was a little village. And this is also showing that the reputation of Paphos has increased exponentially. Just a few years ago, Paphos was like the running gag of the Cypriots. No one wanted to live in Paphos. Actually, a few years more back, but even 3 years ago, no one really had Paphos on their radar. Now it is like the main place to be and the main place to invest in specifically. And another reason that shows that something is happening is that the population of Paphos is just 50,000. And if I compare that with my hometown, Bad Kreuznach from Germany, the population there is also 50,000. But what's happening in Bad Kreuznach? Literally nothing. Bad Kreuznach is Bad Kreuznach as it is. It is basically fully built. All the buildings are there, all the commercial buildings are there, and Bad Kreuznach will stay as it is, mainly because everything is already there. But Paphos has new buildings everywhere. Residential, commercial, gastronomy, restaurants, you get the point. And this obviously leads to a huge potential, which is also visible in the actual statistics, because 2025 started with a 24.8% increase year over year compared to the same time frame last year, 24, in the total number of contracts signed. So sales agreements of buying properties in Cyprus, whatever property it is, villa, apartment, anything. And here you see an article of the Cyprus Mail which states that between January and March, 1,368 contracts were filed for new apartments and houses, which is a 25% increase to the same time frame last year, as I said. And the total transaction value is even more interesting because it climbed from 300 million to almost 400 million, which is another 30% increase in the actual total transaction volume, which is just showing me that year over year so much can happen, and not only in the numbers but also in the reality, as we saw in the video at the Paphos Harbor. Now, another point is the Realty On Expo that I visited just a few weeks ago, and I have a separate video on my private channel Rico Go, on my personal brand, which is called Should You Invest in Cyprus Real Estate? And here I go there independently and I talk to developers, agents, and also influencers and even tenants, normal people just relocating to Cyprus to see it from their eyes. How is it to come to Cyprus, to invest into a property, to rent a property? So this video is also definitely something you can watch after that video. But now, this basically leads to the main point, which is, all right, if you are here on the island, you see real estate is booming. We can't deny that. It is literally happening right now. And even if there are naysayers and pessimists saying that the real estate market in Cyprus is a bubble or it will crash soon, it's these people here that we just make fun of because they can wait until the real estate market crash, but eventually it could happen, but I doubt it will happen in the near future. But back to the juicy part, and now it's getting very interesting because, okay, so the real estate market in Cyprus is interesting. Let's leave it like that. And what are the driving factors and the risks involved with that for you as an investor, as a potential investor into Cyprus? And for that, I noted down the most interesting points. And that is number one, obviously, tourism, as we again just saw in the video. And another stats is that 4 million tourists visited Cyprus just last year alone. The previous record was pre-COVID with like 3.9 million tourists. And we even surpassed that. Another interesting stat for 2025 so far is that, as you can see here, the official government website from Cyprus is releasing the tourist arrival numbers, and we see in April right here the red graph is already surpassing the blue graph, which is 2024. And we are now in June, and they are releasing May statistics very soon, which I expect also to overtake last year, meaning we might have most likely another record year for 2025 for tourism in Cyprus, which is obviously interesting for all property owners in Cyprus. And to understand the numbers, we have a population of 1 million in Cyprus, and the tourists basically spent more than 3 billion euros in revenue last year, which is an insane number for a tiny island like Cyprus. So tourism in Cyprus was, is, and will stay one of the most important sectors and industries for Cyprus economy. And from this Cyprus-specific topic, let's now talk about something more general, much more macroeconomical, and that is the lower interest rates. Central banks are currently easing their monetary policies again compared to the quantitative tightening that they did just a few years back, where it was basically tightening the economy, money supply was more scarce, and now with the quantitative easing, we have more money supply in the world again. That means easier loan access for individuals, businesses, and that implies in general a healthier and more active economy, because if you can get a loan much easier, I remember when we had a nullcents in Germany a few years back, you could literally get a loan for a property in Germany for €0, like for free. It was insane. You could go to the bank if you had a good bonität or credit score for international audiences, and you could just get money from the bank. Not only that, not only 100% finance, but even 110%, where you could also spend the money for the agency or even improving and renovation of the property. So that was definitely insane, and we are getting a trend back to that because the European Central Bank in Frankfurt, which I actually visited a few years ago, had their peak interest rates in the recent years at around 4-something%. Now, June, today, 25, we are getting closer to 2% already. So money is half the price, if that makes sense for everyone understanding macroeconomy. And that basically, I don't want to get too complicated, but what you need to know is that local and international buyers are now in general much more likely to buy because they can get easier and faster and cheaper money. And that then obviously implies increasing demand. If more money is circulating, if more people are willing to spend money, the demand increases in assets all over the world. And Cyprus properties are one investment opportunity that a lot of people are interested in, and especially because of the marketing of the country that is happening through social media, which is huge these days. I see new influencers popping up about Cyprus on a weekly basis. I see organic influencers like myself doing content about Cyprus, demonstrating why it is a good country to relocate to invest in, blah, blah, blah. And that is organic. Even the country, governmental body, the tourism board, the Visit Cyprus website, all of these companies, semi-governmental or governmental, are also spending money for performance marketing, for advertisement, for people to be more aware of Cyprus. Because if we are being real, Cyprus is not that famous yet. If we go to the US and you mention Cyprus, 7, 8 out of 10 people don't even know what that tiny island is. So this obviously again shows how much potential there is in the upcoming years. And why is that? It is mainly because Cyprus is an attractive destination from so many angles. It is the new business hotspot in the EU, undoubtedly, because of the tax incentives. What this channel is all about, just watch all of the other videos on this channel and you will see what the incentives are. A few name-worthy incentives are the non-dom status, which basically exempts all foreigners relocating to Cyprus from the dividend tax for the next 17 years. It is the best non-dom regime in the European Union. Then we have the IP box regime, which lowers your corporate tax for intellectual property businesses down to 2.5%, best IP box regime in the EU. Then we have special visas. We have in general pro-business policies from the government for entrepreneurs and business owners. We have a quick company setup. We have easy accounting and bureaucracy. I remember running a company in Germany, GmbH. Gives me nightmares until today. PR by investment. So even if you're a non-EU citizen, you can come to Cyprus. There are a lot of immigration paths for you to become a resident or even a citizen of the country after a few years. Separate video again about that. And then just in general relocation incentives. Even the income tax can be split in half. There is a 50% income tax deduction. All of those incentives just make Cyprus an amazing business hotspot in the EU. Also, upcoming Schengen access. The president just officially announced that 2026 might be the year, finally. And also mega projects just increases the demand of Cyprus properties. We have around 15 licenses in Paphos only waiting for hospitals to being built, a lot of schools, a lot of new prestigious unis like the American University of Beirut, like a lot of other universities coming to Paphos, Limassol and Larnaca. I have a good friend and a business partner in Limassol. He has a lot of licenses of unis in Limassol and he told me a few very big names that are coming to Cyprus. Then new marinas. Again, Limassol has a huge marina already, same with Ayanapa. Larnaca and Paphos will be next, which will also increase the valuation of the properties around those marinas once they start building it. And then also branded residences. We have the Ritz-Carlton skyscraper in Limassol and many more such big names will come to Cyprus in the upcoming years. Now, what I love, because I'm just so passionate about Cyprus, is the improved reputation. I remember a few years ago when you mentioned Cyprus to Germans, they said, Cyprus, what is that? But that totally changed from many angles again, because first of all, Cyprus used to be the island with goats and sheep where we make halloumi. If you know halloumi cheese, it is coming from Cyprus. But now when you drive through Limassol, you just see skyscrapers, lights and people around, money, fast cars. And it's definitely not that goat island anymore. And not only that, even a few years ago, Cyprus had a a little bit of a bad reputation because the banking crisis, because Cyprus used to be labeled as a tax haven because of the passport scheme and all of those things. But I see now that Cyprus doesn't have this stigma anymore, which is amazing because this just allows Cyprus to be a whitelisted country, so to say, a country where you have an infrastructure, where you have an amazing business legal entity that you can set up here. Banking is strong, recovered very well, and everything is just solid. You know, when you think about countries like Germany, you know, it is solid. Yes, it has its disadvantages, but you know, okay, Germany, everything will work. This wasn't the case in Cyprus a few years ago. Everyone was like, what about the health system? We have National Health Service now. The NHS from the UK. What about this? What about that? Everything just slowly but steadily and safely improves here in Cyprus. And another point that just underlines that is the better flight connections. We have multiple flights a day to major cities and countries like the UK, Germany, Israel, and many other countries. We even have direct flights to the UAE and all of that, which is amazing. Now, those are the driving factors for the Cyprus real estate market, to get back to the topic. But obviously also there are risks involved. And I noted down the 3 major risks in my eyes, in our eyes. And that is number 1, a big topic for a lot of people that haven't been to Cyprus, but they read articles from sources that just want to down talk on Cyprus without any proper reasoning. And the number 1 topic is probably the political division, and I put division in quotes because Greek Cypriots don't really see that Cyprus is divided. However, Cyprus does have a border since 1974, and this is what I mean with division. To end the topic right here, it is a very sensitive topic, so if you are talking to Greek Cypriots, just be careful what you're talking about. But this opens and raises the question for a lot of people that are not informed properly about Cyprus. Hey, what about the instability in Cyprus? Does it exist? And yes, I would say there are some legal issues, but only in the TRNC, so in the Turkish Republic, Northern Cyprus, because only the Republic of Cyprus, the south side, is recognized by all the countries in the world except Turkey. So only the northern part of Cyprus is recognized by only Turkey, and the southern part where I'm in is recognized by all the other countries in the world. And that also means that the south side only is part of the EU, and only here you have the corporate benefits, the PR schemes that I'm talking about in the videos that I'm doing, and the investments are only protected under the law, under EU law here in Cyprus. The northern part, I wouldn't invest into properties there, and I have a separate video talking about that. Just type in YouTube North Cyprus Ricardo and you will see that video too if you want. Now, the second point is the geopolitical tensions, which comes mainly from the fact that Cyprus is geographically close to the Middle East. More specifically Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. And even though that is a fact, nothing ever happened. But I get the point. Okay, I have cancer, but nothing ever happened. But still, it is extremely unlikely that something will happen now in the near future, in the further distance, because Cyprus is a EU member country, which basically means if Syria or any other country, for whatever reason, there is no reason, but actually the opposite, I will get to that in a minute. But if they were to attack Cyprus, it is basically the same like attacking Germany almost, because we also have strong NATO ties. We have 2 UK military bases, and even the US Air Force has a presence on the island. So in my eyes, now it's getting super interesting, because the location of Cyprus is actually rather a safe haven instead of a target, which many people are worried about, and which is the reason why many people don't even come to Cyprus. Because let me show you some articles. Here we have an article from Reuters, a very well-known newspaper, and they have published an article last year about the Lebanon conflict, where they say that here Australia started evacuating its nationals from Lebanon via Cyprus. Another article about that is here. Australia starts evacuating nationals from Lebanon via Cyprus. So you see, countries see Cyprus as a safe haven, as I said. And the same here in this article. Cyprus on standby to assist evacuations from the Middle East. Cyprus has fully activated a mechanism to allow third country nationals evacuating the Middle East safe passage through the island as the crisis in the region worsens, government officials said on Wednesday. So you see, a lot of countries see Cyprus as this kind of peace zone, and even the border in Nicosia, which splits the Turkish Northern Republic of Cyprus with the South Cyprus part, so the Turkish with the Greek side. Even this zone is called buffer zone, and we have UN soldiers, peace soldiers on the ground there, which just are there for peace. And even this Wikipedia article about the 2006 Lebanon war shows another example for Cyprus being a safe haven. Here in this passage we see, according to a spokesman to the British High Commission in the Republic of Cyprus, both France and the US have secured permission from the Brits to use the facilities of the British sovereign base areas Raf Akrotiri, which is the UK base here in Paphos, just 15 minutes from my home actually. So yeah, this basically leads to my point of view on that issue, on the geopolitical issues. Cyprus is neutral and stable if you're here. Within 5-6 years of living here, I have never really had any issue like in Germany, for example, where people are in trucks and drive through Christmas markets. Cyprus is just not on the radar of those people. They literally don't come here because Cyprus is like, again, so small. I don't see Cyprus being a target of such incidents. Now, what I would actually be worried about as a normal day-to-day investor, as you and me, is the legal issues, which are basically, if you buy properties here in Cyprus, there might be project delays and there might even be cancellations, which is the worst case scenario, especially in the Turkish Republic, not in Cyprus. I have a separate video saying why you shouldn't buy properties there, but also in the south, things can happen, especially from smaller developers, non-reputative developers, new developers, and this is why a proper due diligence with a good lawyer is super important, and that is why our chief legal officer at Tax One creates the strongest, best sales agreements you can imagine, and especially the title deeds are what is your main goal. If you buy a property, you need the title deed. Never buy a property without title deeds. In a one-to-one consultation, we are happy to advise you further on that because it is quite individual. But let me just show you this article about, will the Cyprus government do more for trapped buyers? Because a trapped buyer is a person who either paid a deposit or maybe even paid some installments or maybe even paid the full amount for the property, but they never received their title deed. And this is something you don't want to be. You don't want to be a trapped buyer. And there are currently 9,500 buyers that are still trapped in a property purchase in Cyprus without the title deeds. And what is the reason for that? The reason for that is in this passage right here, because their developers have existing mortgages or charges against the land, which blocks the transfer of ownership. So this is something that you definitely want to make sure when you buy a property from a developer, make sure that the land is paid off. And that is why we only work with a handful of developers. And if you need assistance with buying properties, Tax One is also more than happy to assist you on that. Just fill out our form on tax.one and we will assist you with your property purchase. Now the conclusion, and to answer the question, is now the right time to buy a property in Cyprus? The property market is driven by supply and demand, and we obviously see an increasing demand for CY properties, and we see a limited supply because it takes time to build properties. And Cyprus is changing in so many ways. It is attractive for so many different individuals and businesses for multiple reasons. We have record tourist numbers, and this just leads to the fact that Cyprus is a beautiful, beautiful place to relocate to do business in, to relax at the beach, to do holidays, to raise a family. One of the safest, if not the safest country in the European Union. It is also a beautiful place to retire. We have the cleanest waters in the European Union, and it is therefore an amazing place to invest in my eyes, in many eyes, such as one of our clients who came to us in September 2023. We visited a plot in Paphos. This is Gyroskipo area. You see an unobstructed, beautiful sea view and a huge plot where there were about 60 units being sold off plan. And as we are working with the best developers on the island, now in June 2025, I just met this client 2 weeks ago and he showed me these pictures. He just sent them to me via Telegram. And this is the view from his new kitchen or living room, and this is the inside of his apartment, which is an amazing example of a good developer, where you just see, okay, from an actual off plan, which is always nice to see the plans, but then how it actually became reality. And he's about to move in now. He's relocating from Serbia, which is a non-EU country. He bought this property for PR purposes. Now he's relocating with his family. He has a software business. He's also taken advantage of the IP box regime now, and he's just changing his life 180 degrees, coming from Serbia, now in Cyprus, going to the sea, bringing his kids to amazing reputative schools, and he just purchased another investment property, a villa somewhere down there, very close to the sea, somewhere here, can't see it, it's black. Anyway, here we have an amazing project, and if you're interested in Cyprus real estate or just getting a consultation, go to tax.one, fill out our form. We will get back to you as soon as possible. We are more than happy to assist you in every step of the way. Setting up a company, a bank account, doing your accounting, doing your management of the company, or again, doing an investment into Cyprus. And I hope this video gave you some actual insights about what's happening on this island. I hope it answered some questions, and this is what I'm doing on this channel. So if you subscribe to the channel, I will see you in the next one.